I'd like to offer Nigel Farage and the Reform Party a bit of advice, and this is coming from a well-wisher who wants to see Reform absolutely crush the Labour Party at the next election. But it's not just enough to electorally crush them. Reform has to morally crush them. They have to absolutely grind them into the dust and reveal their position to be one of evil, to be completely unacceptable, and to be fundamentally against the British people. Because Starmer did declare war on us. He did declare war on anyone who thinks that immigration is too high and thinks immigrants are actually not British, which is obviously definitionally true. And 70% of the country agree that immigration is just too high. It's gone too far. This is a well-studied, well-documented phenomenon that we've never wanted mass immigration, and yet we've had it anyway. So I think the way that that Reform should approach this issue is actually not on the defensive, because it is actually Labour who is in the defensive crouch at the moment. In fact, Labour, if you look at their conference from the outside and you take it in its entirety, the Labour Party has the aspect of a wounded animal at this point. It's an animal that is bleeding out and is surrounded on all sides. Think of the protesters that were at the party. They were protesters from every kind of political persuasion that the Labour Party had attacked, the Labour Party had gone after. And now the Labour Party looks to me like it's under siege. And so, like a wounded and cornered animal, Starmer, Mahmood and all the rest are lashing out. They are obsessed with Nigel Farage because he seems to be the totemic embodiment of all of the problems that they are facing politically. And so they are literally claws out, going for the jugular, calling him every name under the sun, calling him a racist, calling him a Nazi, whatever it is, blah, 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 blah. Not just calling him that, though, calling his supporters that, calling everyone who has any doubts that actually Britain is for the British and not for foreigners, that they are the enemy. A literal declaration of war. They are the enemy. And so that is an insane thing to say, you would think. But I think Nigel's response, though in tone it was fine, wasn't as good as it could be. And actually, I think there is a stronger play that can be made here. So rather than being defensive about Starmer doing this, actually, I think being magnanimous and, dare I say, magnificent about it is actually the right way to go. Because I think what Starmer is revealing here, that he is prepared to attack a good, at least 33% or 35% of the country, something like that are currently wherever Reform are in the polls. At least a third of the country are his enemies, but probably far more than that. There are going to be a lot of quiet Reform supporters or lay Reform supporters who haven't yet made up their minds. And Starmer has also put a target on them. And so I think the response from Reform shouldn't actually be to worry about him inciting mob violence, because I think it's important to remember that Starmer is not actually a man of the street. He is not a man of the mob. Actually, that would be Jeremy Corbyn. The kind of street leftists who come out and parade and wave their flags, they're not Starmer's guys. They're Jeremy Corbyn's guys. They're Zara Sultana's guys. They're slowly but surely becoming Zach Polanski's guys. They are the ones who would be insane radicals who think they could martyr themselves for the cause of socialism. Keir Starmer's people are not those people. And they don't like Keir Starmer at all. In fact, they kind of hate Keir Starmer. And they're forming their own coalitions against him from the left. So I actually don't think that they are the primary threat to Nigel Farage and his supporters. Because Starmer is a man of the system. Starmer is pure system. Pure laws, regulations and rules. He is the most boring man alive, but he plays by the rules. He is, of course, a human rights lawyer. And like any kind of men of the system, when they say they're going to come after you with all we've got, what he's doing is not inciting violence. He is inciting the institutions to lawfare. What the police, what the judiciary, what the local councils run by Labour, what any person in a position of authority who supports the system and supports Labour and Keir Starmer are going to hear from that is persecute the racists. That's what they're going to hear. Persecute the racists. You can use your discretion to just say yes or no when something happens. Well, make sure that they are they're treated with repressive tolerance. If you see a racist and you're not sure if he's paid his tax or something, or he's got his license up to date, put him through the system. The process is the punishment. Make them continually go through this thing to demoralize them, to grind them down, and who knows, you might even catch the odd criminal. This is what he's going to do. He's not going to incite Antifa violence, and Antifa have never really had a strong presence in Britain. They're a lot more powerful on the continent, for example, in Germany, or in America and Canada, and probably in Australia a bit as well. But they're not really a very strong presence here. They're not really the threat. What he's going to do is use the system to persecute Reform voters and supporters. The online right, he's already coming after. I mean, I know at least half a dozen people in the online right who've been arrested, detained, and interrogated by the Starmer's Stasi. You've got Katie Hopkins, you've got Northern Variant, you've got Tommy, obviously, in many other ways, and you've got a bunch of other people who Reform voters probably aren't really that aware of, who have also just been taken in for questioning, who have been on the raw end of this. That's what he's going to continue doing. That ratchet is going to crank up over the next 3 or 4 years as the system feels itself to be more mortally in peril. They will continue to try and do every aspect of lawfare that they can, like they did against Donald Trump. This will be a very easy thing to take a blueprint of. And so I think that actually what Nigel should do is take on the aspect of the legitimate Prime Minister, because everyone kind of thinks he already is. Everyone realizes that Keir Starmer is not the true king. He is not in his position because he deserves it. He is not in his position because of a popular mandate, and he has gone far beyond what he had a moral license to do. You do not get to change the voting system. You do not get to change all of the way that we look at politics. You do not get to say that actually the legitimate concerns of people make them racist and you're opposed to them in every way, shape or form. You do not get to say this. Like the Starmer government has gone far beyond its remit. And then getting to the point of saying digital IDs on top of that, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You have gone way beyond your mandate, Keir, and you know it. And if you don't know it, the polling is already starting to show it. Poll today out, Labour down -5. And that's before even this weekend's conference shows up in the polls. That -5 is from the digital ID alone. You've already lost 25% of your support. 20% of your support over that. 'Cause you're at 25% of the polls, now you're down to 20. Like this is a government that is collapsing. Absolutely collapsing. And so Nigel, I don't think actually should be worried about being the victim of these things. What I think that Nigel should do is cool down the temperature. Seem like what would a legitimate Prime Minister actually do in this situation? What would Nigel have done after Southport? He would probably have come out and said, this is a terrible tragedy. I hear you. I feel your pain. And we're going to make sure this doesn't happen again. And everyone would have gone, oh, thank God. Someone in charge who actually understands what our concerns are and doesn't want our children being murdered. What did Keir Starmer do? Keir Starmer said, 24-hour courts. I'm coming for you. He declared war then, he declared war at the conference. This is not in any way outside of his character. He is at war with the British people for the integrity of the system, and they view you, Nigel, as the threat to the system. And for them, it hinges apparently on indefinite leave to remain, which is a perfectly reasonable policy that most people already agree with. So ending that is a perfectly fine thing to do. So all you need to do is come out, give a press conference in which you seem confident, you seem calm, you seem in command of yourself. Unlike Keir Starmer, you seem like you are the person who is the man of the future. And you say in a level-headed way that the plan is to end indefinite leave to remain because this was used against the British people, against their will, to bring in millions of people who shouldn't be here. And on a case-by-case basis, they are going to be evaluated. And if, in fact, they are not good for the economy, they are not contributing to Britain, then they will be sent home because they weren't meant to be here in the first place. And actually, we don't need more foreign dependence. It's completely moral and sensible not to give foreigners access to our benefit system, not to pay for them to live here. This is completely sane, and you would have to be a lunatic or a Labour Party member, possibly I'm repeating myself, to oppose that. And what you can do with this very magisterial and confident and authoritative press conference is just not only reinforce your own position, but make the Labour Party look like foaming at the mouth idiots who seem to be openly traitorous and declaring for the foreigners, and to give them your money and your time, your resources, to give them primary consideration of the state, when in fact it's the British people who deserve the primary consideration of the state. And if you come out with all of the Reform Party and just give very mature, very calm, very prime ministerial speeches, explain the morality of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and why it's necessary to happen, then I think that what you will do is reposition the board and make Starmer apparent as the false King John, waiting for the true king to return and actually put the world to rights. Because what Starmer's defending is the system that brought us to this point. He is defending the system that is ruining the country. And he claims that he loves the country in this state. Whereas many people are old enough to remember that actually the country existed before this system and actually was good. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. It wasn't dilapidated and overrun like it is now. And actually a responsible prime minister, the responsible steward of the country, would be taking action to restore the country to what it used to be, not continue down this path of destruction. And that message can be put forth very easily, very straight, and it will resonate with people because it's true. And this, I think, will leave Labour in a position where they just have nowhere else to turn. They will just sit there calling you racist, and I think that, for the public, will fall on deaf ears, and Reform will seem like the obvious and only legitimate choice for government, and Starmer will look like someone whose time is up and who is illegitimately occupying the seat of power.